Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Radhanath Radhe Jai Giri Govardhan Jai Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Privaracharya Asutasara Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Privaracharya Asvatastara Shri Bhaktisanta Saraswati Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Gau Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So today we're reading from Chaitanya Charitamrta, first Adi Lila, text 47. Shiksha Guru Tanjani Krishna Swarupa Antaryami Bhakta Shrestha Edhu Rupa. Shiksha Guru Tanjani Krishna Swarupa Shiksha Guru Keta Jani Krishna Swarupa Antaryami Bhakta Shrestha Edui Rupa Antaryami Bhakta Shrestha Edui Rupa Shiksha Guru Keta Jani Krishna Raswarupa Antaryami Bhakta Shrestha Edui Rupa. Okay, so the word for word. Shiksha Guru Ke, the spiritual master who instructs. Indeed. Jani, I know, Krishnera, of Krishna, Swarupa, the direct representative, Antaryami, the indwelling supersoul, Bhakta Shrestha, the best devotees, these, the we, two, Rupa, forms. Translation. One should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Krishna. Lord Krishna manifests himself as the supersoul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. So you may repeat, one should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Krishna. Lord Krishna manifests himself as the supersoul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. So purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami states that the instructing spiritual master is a bona fide representative of Sri Krishna. Lord Krishna himself teaches us as the instructing spiritual master from within and without. From within, he teaches as Paramatma, our constant companion, and from without, he teaches from the Bhagavad Gita as the instructing spiritual master. There are two kinds of instructing spiritual masters. One is a liberated person full of fully absorbed in meditation in devotional service, and the other is he who invokes the disciple's spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instructions. Thus, the instructions in the science of devotion are differentiated in terms of the objective and subjective ways of understanding. The Acharya, in the true sense of the term, who is authorized to deliver Krishna, enriches the disciple with full spiritual knowledge and thus awakens him to the activities of devotional service. When by learning from the self-realized spiritual master, one actually engages in the service of Lord Vishnu, functional devotional service begins. The procedure of this devotional service are known as abhidheya, or actions one is duty-bound to perform. Our only shelter is the Supreme Lord, and one who teaches how to approach Krishna is I've lost myself here. And one who teaches how to approach Krishna is the functioning form of the personality of Godhead. There is no difference between the shelter-giving Supreme Lord and the initiating and instructing spiritual masters. If one foolishly discriminates between them, he commits an offense in the discharge of devotional service. Srila Sanatana Goswami is the ideal spiritual master, for he delivers one the shelter of the lotus feet of Madan Mohan. Even though one may be unable to travel on the field of Vrindavan due to forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can get an adequate opportunity to stay in Vrindavan and derive all spiritual benefits by the mercy of Sanatana Goswami. Sri Govindaji acts exactly like the Shiksha Guru, instructing spiritual master by teaching Arjuna the Bhagavad Gita. He is the original preceptor, for he gives us instructions and an opportunity to serve him. The initiating spiritual master is a personal manifestation of Srila Madan Mohan Vigraha, whereas the instructing spiritual master is a personal representative of Srila Govindadev Vigraha. Both of these deities are worshipped at Vrindavan. Srila Gopinath is the ultimate attraction in spiritual realization. Amigyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Caitanya Manobhista Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripasindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna dear devotees. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to say something on Lord Chaitanya and speaking from Chaitanya Charitamrta, and basically gurus, the spiritual masters, and how important they are in our lives, right? So we see that Srila Prabhupada, he basically, he writes these purports, and within these purports are his personal ecstasies, and he says that actually Prabhupada says that Krishna dictates to him what to write in these purports. It's not his own purports. Because sometimes Prabhupada would read his own books, and then the disciples would ask him, like, Prabhupada, why are you reading your own books? And he would say that these are not my books. These are Krishna's books, because Krishna, he basically dictates to me, and I just write. So we find how astonishing these purports are, and we'll try to derive some nectar from these purports, and see what Prabhupada has basically explained here. So we see that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he explains that the Lord manifests as a super soul within the heart, and as the greatest devotee. The greatest devotee is the spiritual master. So he manifests as the spiritual master. So in this way, we should not take the guru as ordinary, because the guru is not an ordinary person. He is empowered. He's an empowered personality by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to emanate this or disseminate this knowledge unto us, the fallen conditioned souls of this material world. And, a Chaitya Guru, the Lord manifests as Chaitya Guru within the heart, as a super soul within the heart. And we know that, sometimes the Lord speaks to us, right? And, when you have this urge to come to the temple, right? Like Mataji is here, I'm singing for the first time, but, you have this urge to basically come to the temple, and you want to come, and then eventually you do come. So who is actually instructing you to come? It's the super soul within the heart that's instructing you to please come to the temple, right? So in this way, we find that, yes, Krishna is basically the super soul that's directing us. He directs the wanderings of all living entities, right? This is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. So, when I was much, much younger in my, teenage years, right? So about 16 or so. And then I had a dilemma. I wanted to choose a guru, and I took up to Krishna consciousness, basically, from a much earlier, when I was like 12 or to 13. And then when I was 16, basically, I'm like looking for a guru. And how do I find a guru? So I had to pray, to Prabhupada and Krishna, basically, to send me a guru. And then my first experience was at the Durban Rath Yatra, the first Rath Yatra on the beachfront, right? And there were so many gurus there, and who to choose, And then I saw this most effulgent personality, right? And he reminded me of Lord Chaitanya, actually. When you hear to the descriptions of Lord Chaitanya, his arms are long, and he's like so beautiful and effulgent like this. And here I'm looking at this personality, and he's like so effulgent and handsome, and and I was like, my God, who is this? Is he Lord Chaitanya? I don't know, because I'm like, I'm new. And then and he left an indelible impression in my heart. And then years later, much, much later, when I was actually serious, very serious about choosing a guru, and his image came into my mind. And he says, then I said, I know him. I met him at Rath Yatra. I did not speak to my spiritual master as yet. I just remembered him, from that time. So what happened was I had lost my memory due to an accident, and I'd lost my memory. And the first memories that came to me was of this personality. How amazing is that? On the Durban's beachfront. and then that's when I said, yes, this is my guru. I need to, but how do I don't know how to get in touch with him. I don't know anything. And then eventually when I started associating with the devotees and coming to the temple, and then that's how I learned that he comes to South Africa once a year and I can get an opportunity to serve him. And that's when I came to stay at the temple and serve him, like personal service, like I was doing his laundry and all of that. So, Krishna arranges all of this, right? So then he became my Diksha Guru, right? His Holiness Indradimna Swami Maharaj. So so in this way, we all have that. Those of us who have gurus, initiating spiritual masters, will understand how, from the heart, actually you want to choose this personality as your guru because he inspires you in certain ways, right? And when I listened to his class at the beachfront, I was like blown away, like this. So like this, that personality that touches your heart most by his instructions and by his his behavior, basically, and that's personality, will be your spiritual master. So anyway, we're diving off the topic, so let's just continue. So we're talking about instructing spiritual masters and initiating spiritual masters like this. So, in the Bhagavad Gita 4:34, it is being described, Tad vidi pranipratena pariprashnena sevaya upadakshanti te ginam ginanis tadvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. And those personalities will, benedict you, will reveal everything to you because they have seen the truth. Right? They know, they are experienced devotees, they know. Then they will, accept you, basically, into the association of Prabhupada's movement. So then this is, this is the verse from Bhagavad Gita. And who's speaking the Bhagavad Gita? Krishna, right? So we learn like this. And the analogy is given, if one wants to fly an airplane, right? So he doesn't just go to an ordinary person, to learn. He goes to the person who's experienced in all of this, right? He goes to a teacher, a teacher that, who knows about how to fly an airplane. And that's when he learns, right? Or to a school that teaches. And that's where he learns how to fly an airplane. But, if he didn't go to a proper institution to learn, then he would crash the plane and, and all of this. And even experienced pilots, crashing planes these days, right? We hear so much on the news. So like this. So if we wanted to learn spiritual knowledge, then, this analogy is teaching us, if we want to learn spiritual knowledge, then we should go to the respective teacher, or the philosophy who knows, Krishna, like this, and then that's when we can learn from him about the spiritual topics, right? So we can use these analogies to demonstrate how important the spiritual master is, right? If we go to a Shishi Radharadhanath ki jai. If you go to a bogus guru, then you're going to learn all things that are not going to help you to go back to Godhead, right? They'll give you knowledge on how to stay in this material world. So we don't want this. We want to go back home, back to Godhead. So we should go to a respective spiritual master who can teach us the art of going back home. And that art is devotional service. So, and it is being compared here that the initiating spiritual master is compared to Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan is a deity in Vrindavan, right? Compared to Madan Mohan. The instructing spiritual master is compared to Gopinath. Gopinath is another deity in Vrindavan. And, Govindaji. And these two deities, we pray to them, then you go to Gopinath, the ultimate, basically the Lord of the Gopis, basically. So like this, these spiritual masters are compared, the initiating spiritual master, the instructing spiritual master compared to Madan Mohan and Govindaji, like this. So there's, then you get these three aspects in spiritual life: Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Sambandha is one who is actually establishing you in Krishna consciousness, and Abhideya is one who is giving you the instructions on how to perform devotional service. And our goal is Gopinath, or Krishna, Golok, Vrindavan, how to get to our goal, basically. So that is, we have Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. So like this, we find that sometimes our spiritual master may give us an instruction, and it's like beyond us, beyond our, it's beyond our head how to actually perform this service. And we should not despair, but we should try to accept that instruction and in time fulfill it. So like this, Srila Prabhupada, he accepted the spiritual master, his instructions from his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and it took him a while to actually fulfill it, right? He got the instruction when he was like 20, 30 years old, and later on, when he was like almost 70, then he fulfilled this instruction. But all this time in between, he was preparing on how to actually fulfill the instructions of his spiritual master. And that's when he went to the West and he established Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And we see people from all over the world now are getting the opportunity to actually take to the process of Krishna Consciousness by this one instruction of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj to Srila Prabhupada, who took these instructions as his life and soul and executed this at the later stage. So we too should actually do like this. So there's a nice, I was listening to my Guru Maharaj's Parikram classes recently, and he gives a nice pastime in this regard about Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya, he was studying under his spiritual master, and it was in the open air at that time. There were no classrooms like that. So when his spiritual master, he gave an instruction to all his students, like, who can go into that river, and get me a lotus flower. And all the students were like, but Gurudev, it's like so difficult to get in there because you have to cross thorny bushes, and then this river is full of snakes. How are we going to get to the lotus flower? But Advaita Acharya, he took these instructions upon his head and he said, I will do it. And how he was so convinced? Because it's coming from the lips of my spiritual master, it will become easy. So Srila Prabhupada also says that the instructions of the spiritual master may seem very difficult, but because it's coming from his lotus lips, it becomes very easy. So together with the instructions come the ability for us to perform the instruction. So Advaita Acharya, he walked upon all these thorns, and he pushed aside all of these things. He pushed this, when he went into the river, he pushed the snakes aside, and then he went to the lotus flower. He plucked the lotus flower and brought it back to his guru, and that pleased his spiritual master so much. So like this, we see that, the instruction of the spiritual master becomes like so easy for us to perform. I remember my spiritual master gave me an instruction that was like very, very difficult for me to perform. Okay, I'm a Sankirtan devotee, but I'm not such a great Sankirtan devotee, well, it was, he said, okay, then I asked my spiritual master, what service can I do? And then he says, you can, maybe collect for my hearing aids. My hearing aids are finished, it's like, it worn off, so can you collect for my hearing aids? And these hearing aids were like so expensive, it was like 50, that was so many years ago, like 20 years ago, 50,000 was like a lot of money. I'm like, how am I going to collect this amount? So I didn't tell him that, and I said, I just said yes, and then and I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this, and I started praying, to Krishna and to Srila Prabhupada, how am I going to please my spiritual master, and then I prayed, and the answers came to me like this. And so I said, like, why collect for it? I could get a doctor who is an ENT specialist, and he could basically do the hearing aids, for nothing, almost nothing. And that's actually what happened. I spoke to the devotees and, inquired like who's an ENT specialist and like this. And eventually, we found an ENT specialist. We actually found 3 ENT specialists. And all of them were inclined to devotional service, right? And one was a devotee already. And then I approached them and I inquired, can you do this? And yes, by all means. And then I gave my Gururaj 3 options, like three personalities to choose from who could actually fix his hearing aids, and he chose one, right? I won't mention names, but he chose one. And in this way, he had his hearing aids. So the hearing aids are also part of devotional service because it helps the guru to actually disseminate knowledge unto you and hear you as well. So in this way, it's like it's devotional service. So it becomes very easy. The instruction becomes very easy. And then I was thinking, oh my God, I was like so stressed about this in the beginning, but it's just like so simple to perform, And yes, the Chaitya Guru from within the heart, the super soul within the heart, he gives you the knowledge on how to actually do this, right? If you're sincere and you want to please your spiritual master, then the Lord helps you like this. Out there in this material world, there's so many deviant philosophies that are going on, and people are finding faults with gurus and this and that. There's so many things that are going out on the internet, on even written form like this. So we should not listen to all of these things because then it brings about negativity in our hearts, right? And we shouldn't. Prabhupada actually, he wrote a letter to Badri Narayan Prabhu in 1971, and he says that one who finds faults, in other people are like flies. The flies, what they do, they go on open wounds, right? And they suck the open wounds. And the bees, they will go for the nectar. Should be like nectar. So there's 2 classes of devotees. One are like bees and one are like flies. The flies will always find faults with devotees. They will always, see the worst in a person. But the bee-like devotee will see the best in a devotee, even if there is so many faults, with the devotee. But he'll find the best in the devotee, and he will magnify that goodness, right? The best activity that the devotee has performed. So we should not be like flies, but we should be like bees, always looking at devotees and the best activity of the devotee and glorifying those devotees. Now imagine if all these literatures that promote bad things about devotees, find faults with devotees, if that was exchanged or transformed into looking at all the good the devotees do, then how much better this world will be, right? How much of positivity there will be in this world. So we should not be negative, we should not take anything negative, but we should take things positive to progress in our spiritual lives. So in this letter to Badri Narayan Prabhu, Prabhupada is telling him, yes, you look at the good of the devotee, the best quality of the devotee, and you magnify that. You do not look for faults in devotees. So in this way, we can learn that spiritual masters are an exalted platform, right? And we should actually worship them as good as God, right? We should worship the spiritual master as good as God. And not that the spiritual master now thinks that I am God. No, he thinks I'm the servant of Srila Prabhupada, and like this. So in this way, he's always thinking, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant, right? The spiritual master is thinking like this. But the disciples are thinking that, he's on a very exalted platform. Up till this day, when I go in the presence of my spiritual master, I'm like all shaking, and I don't know what to say. I get tongue-tied. I want to tell him something, but I just get tongue-tied. I don't know what to say. I just freeze, in front of him. So we should worship the spiritual master with awe and reverence, like this, right? So we see that the humble devotees who see the good in others, they are always engaged in preaching activities, right? And they would, go on Harinam, book distribution, right? Festivals, parikrams, like this. They would hold all of these because they want to preach and bring the devotees closer to Srila Prabhupada, closer to Krishna. So in this way, they're engaged in all of these activities. But you find those who find faults. What have they got to show for their devotional service? Nothing. They just they don't have anything. They're always morose and they always negative about everything. So in this way, we should try to be, as I said, like the bees who are always going for the nectar, for the honey, right? And not for the sores and for all the stinky things, right? That's where you find all the flies, right? In the garbage, like that. So, so like that. So we find that Srila Prabhupada, he is our preeminent Shiksha Guru, right? And we have our Diksha Gurus, right? His disciples. But he is the preeminent Shiksha Guru. He is the Shiksha Guru for the whole world because of his, these instructions in his books. He's giving us his instructions in his books. And in this way, he is our instructing Guru. He's, and he is not different from Govindaji, right? Like this, and the initiating spiritual master is non-different from Madan Mohan, like that. So this is what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying here, and Prabhupada is actually glorifying that in his purports. So we also find that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had problems when he was trying to propagate Krishna consciousness. We all will go through problems, because Krishna is there to test us, test our devotion. But he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he also have been through issues, right, in trying to propagate his message, in establishing the Yuga Dharma for this age. And we find that, he took initiation also. He set an example by taking initiation from Ishvara Puri, his Guru Maharaj. And, when Guru Maharaj gave him the Mahamantra, initiated him, into the holy names, then he became like a madman, right? And that's when he started to preach about the Sankirtan movement after taking initiation. And we see that while he was, chanting and getting the devotees to chant, then they would go on Harinams and just fasten up this pastime because we don't have much time. So they would go on Harinams, and in this way, the Mughal emperors at that time, they were, especially the Chankazi, he was very envious of the devotees doing this, and he went into the streets and he broke the mirdangas, and and he basically he wanted to stop the Sankirtan movement. And when Lord Chaitanya heard about this, he became so furious, and he said, "Who is this personality? Who is this demon that is doing this?" And then he said, "Right, let's organize a party." And then that's when he went into the streets with hundreds and thousands of devotees holding flaming torches, and they marched to the Chankazi's house. And in this way, the Chandkazi, when he saw these hundreds of devotees coming with flaming torches, he was so scared, he went and hid himself. And Lord Chaitanya, requested him, go and call him, I want to see him. He's putting an end to my Sankirtan movement. And then this Chandkazi eventually comes out, and then he tells Mahaprabhu, why are you so angry? Our parents are like, they see each other as aunties and uncles, and we are nephews and why are you behaving like this? And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'm not sure if it's Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said this or Chandkazi, but anyway, so according to village village communications with each other, I know in the olden days, our neighbors, we would call them, aunties and uncles, like mommies and mamas, and like that. We should not call them by their names, So in this way, so this was a village relationship, that everyone was your family, like that. So then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, so why are you stopping the Sankirtan movement? And he said, my Lord, I want to talk to you, come aside, I want to talk to you privately. And then he spoke to the Lord in private, and he told the Lord that last night I had a dream, and in this dream, this lion god appeared, and he scratched me and he slapped me, and he told me not to stop the Sankirtan movement, and in this way, I got like such a fright. And he opened his chest and he showed the marks on his chest. And Nishingadeva with his claws, he wanted to tear him apart, but he stopped. He didn't do that. And he threatened him and he told him, you don't stop the Sankirtan movement. And so in that way, he says, now that I bow down to you, I won't stop the Sankirtan movement, and I will tell my constables not to stop anyone who chants the holy names of Krishna. So in this way, this Sankirtan movement was spreading in Navadvip like this by the Lord's mercy and by the Lord's mercy. So Chandkazi, he did not interfere with the devotees thereafter. So we see that, in the Bhagavatam it is being described, Yasha Shakshad Bhagavati, Yana Deepa Pradaguru, Matyasad, Di Strutam Tasya, Sarva Kunjara Sochavat. The translation, the spiritual master should be considered directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he gives transcendental knowledge for enlightenment. For those who maintain material conceptions, the spiritual master is an ordinary being. Everything is frustrating. For him, everything is frustrating if he thinks the spiritual master is an ordinary person. So everything becomes frustrating for him. His study and Vedic knowledge is like bathing of an elephant. So those who think that the spiritual master is an ordinary person, all his knowledge and his studies in the Vedic scriptures is like the bathing of the elephant. The elephant bathes very nicely in the water, comes out into the sand, and he throws sand all over his body, becomes dirty again. So what is the use of his bathing? So all these verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is pointing to accepting a spiritual master, a living spiritual master who can actually help you to cross over this ocean of material nations, this material world, because we are basically in this material world, and there's so much of vice, crime, vice, hatred, envy, all of these things are there in the material world, and the spiritual master can drag you out of this material world and place you at the lotus feet of Krishna. So we should actually worship him as good as Krishna. So talking about Madan Mohan a lot in my class. So I'll just relate some pastimes about Madan Mohan also that I've been hearing to my Guru Maharaj's classes on Parikram. I'm so sad that I'm not with him on Parikram due to circumstances. But I'm listening to his classes. So Advaita Acharya, it is being described that he first discovered Madan Mohan, although Madan Mohan is the deity of Sanatana Goswami. But it was Advaita Acharya who first discovered Madan Mohan. So he first went to Sevakunj, and in this way he found, and then he said, no, let me go to Gokul. When he went to Gokul, then he found this deity of Madan Gopal, Advaita Acharya. And when he found this deity, he brought the deity back to Sevakunj, and they started elaborately worshipping this deity of Madan Gopal. And then the Mughals again came, and they were looking at all the deities and breaking the deities, and doing all sorts of atrocious things. So the deity himself jumped off the altar, and he went and ran and hid in the bushes. How you like that? Right? He has to save himself now. He ran into the bushes and he hid there. And Advaita Acharya came and he says, there's no deity, like, where's my deity? And they start looking. So pujaris were looking for the deity, and they couldn't find him anywhere. And Advaita Acharya came and he started looking and he couldn't find him. And then eventually this deity came running back and he jumped onto the lap of Advaita Acharya. And when he jumped, and then Advaita Acharya got like such a surprise. Oh, my deity is here, And okay, now I should take him to a safer place, Better I'll take him to Mathura and keep him there. So he took him to Mathura and he gave him to a Brahmin to take care of. And the Brahmana, they were called the Chobes. Remember? Sounds familiar? So the Chobes took care of this deity. And then eventually Sanatana Goswami, he came. And he on Madhukari, he's going on Madhukari, like sannyasis, they go on Madhukari, whatever they collect from any household, they will eat that for the day. So he came to the Chobes and, he peeped the window and he saw them worshipping, not worshipping the deity, but the children, they were playing with the deity, running around and, having fun like this with the deity. And he says, like, what is this? This is the deity, and they shouldn't be doing this to the deity, playing with the deity. This is not on. So he spoke to the head of the house and he said, you should worship the Lord with awe and reverence on the altar, not play around with him like this, But obviously the Lord was enjoying himself, because Krishna, Vrindavan is a playground of God, right? So he was enjoying himself playing. So anyway, that night, the Chobe, had a dream that he wants to go with Sanatana Goswami. So, and Sanatana Goswami had the dream also that, he should go and take him from the Chobes. So in this way, the next day, he went to the house of the Chobes, and then the Brahmana explained to Sanatana Goswami that he had this dream that the Lord wants to go with him. And, and Sanatana Goswami revealed his dream. So eventually it was, organized that Madan Gopal goes with Sanatana Goswami. So that's when he took Madan Gopal to Vrindavan and he built a big, huge temple for him in time. There's lots of stories in between, which we don't have time to say, and very interesting stories, right? And so he built a huge temple for him, and up till this day, you can still go there and, worship Madan. And then he named him Madan Mohan, and, you can go there. And it's basically the first temple in Vrindavan. It's beautiful, huge, made of red stone. So we'll stop there. It's 28 minutes past 8. And if anyone would like to comment, have any comments or questions, you're most welcome to pose them now. Anything on Sankirtan? We see that Veerabhadra Prabhu goes out on Harinam Sankirtan every week without fail, right? And sometimes I join him, sometimes my health is not too good, but I join him sometimes. And we have such beautiful memories about Sankirtan, which he would like to share now. On Harinam. Come. And also miracles take place on Harinam as well. You just never know when it's going to pop up,
Speaking of miracles, okay, I'll say one pastime. So this was like many years ago, and 3 of us were out in Harinam, here in Chatsworth, in the residential areas. And we were like, what we used to do is go do Harinam on the entire down the road and then come back up the same road. So on our way back, it was getting kind of dark. So we were trying to rush the Harinam because we had one lady with us, one female devotee, So we were trying to get back as quickly as possible. But then this Muslim person stops us, this man. And he stops us and he says, stop. It reminds me of the Chankazi story, Stop. And so now I'm thinking like, okay, there we go. We're going to have an argument or something. But then he says, I just want to tell you something. What you're doing is very nice. And I know the demigods are following you. So like we were taken aback, we didn't expect him to say something like this. And then, so we said, thank you for encouraging us and things, and we carried on. And so when we got back to the devotee's home, we were like, recalling this, what happened. And it was like so amazing. Like, how can when a Muslim person stops you, you're expecting something bad.
That's only the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, because some Muslims are very pious as well. And maybe he could see the devatas following the Harinam. He could see that, So it's Lord Chaitanya's, Mahaprabhu's mercy upon us, the devotees, and those who can even see beyond that, right? So like he's given this vision to this Muslim person to actually see.
So when he said that, it was like he had actually convinced us more that Harinam is a thing to do,
Exactly. Yes. So book distribution, Harinam, any preaching activities, food prasadam distribution, these are not ordinary activities. These are all activities of the spiritual world, that we are performing here. We are actually rehearsing how to behave in the spiritual world, right? By engaging in devotional service. So thank you very much for that, Pastor.
Also, once we were...
Go on. See, now he doesn't want to stop.
Once we were like doing Harinam and we were going past the mosque. And they were like, I think they trained them there or something. So there were many young boys there in the yard of that mosque. So we were the road level, so they were quite high. But we were going past, and suddenly I felt something hit me on my head, And so I didn't think of anything of it, and then we continued, and then we see like stones are coming. So these boys were throwing stones at us. But anyway, we didn't do anything. We just continued. But as we continued doing Harinam on that street many times. Then we find that they started to wave at us after that, eventually. So the holy name just purifies the atmosphere, it purifies people's hearts.
Yes.
This is how Prabhupada started ISKCON.
Yes, by sitting, beneath the tree in Thompson Square Park, and chanting Hare Krishna. That's when he attracted so many souls to Krishna consciousness. So thank you very much. We are beyond time. And Hare Krishna, Granth Raj Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.